So it's time for another gardening week video. We're in the middle of January and it's kind of the grimmest time of year, I always think. This next month, basically, between the middle of January and the middle of February, everything gets so much better in the middle of February. And so now, all the kind of harvests are at their worst in terms of quality. That means really the leafy greens. We've had a lot of rain now, which is good. I've managed to store away a lot of water now and all of my IBC tanks are now full. And I've actually bought another IBC tank from Jenny's old plot and popped that onto my plot. So I've now got, I think, 6 cubic meters of water, of which storage capacity, of which about 5.3, I think, something like that, is full. And hopefully over February the rest will get full. And that should last me now until, I guess, I could almost probably get to the end of spring with that amount of water. So that is quite a nice position to be in, and hopefully by then the taps will obviously be on. So yeah, so that's pretty good. We've had, as I said, a lot of rain. All the fields around me where I go walking during the week, they are all fully saturated, and we've got some really nice big lakes forming on the fields. Brought the strawberries into the polytunnel. Decided that I've got quite a lot of early strawberries. I've got 3 kind of what you might think of as successions. So I've got the ones in the hanging baskets, which I think of as my kind of first earlies. I've got the ones that were in the hanging baskets last year that I've now put into tubs, and I'll bring those into the polytunnel in sort of the middle of February time, and they should come second. And then I've got a bed of the same variety, which is Sweetheart, outside, and I'll put a cold frame top on over that probably in March or something, and they'll come next. And then of course I've got my main crop strawberries, so it's worth kind of starting them off fairly early in the polytunnel. Gave those a good clean up, and they look really nice now, having all these hanging baskets in here. I just need to watch out, make sure I don't bump my head. What else have I done? So I've probably mentioned in loads of previous videos that I'm starting now to plant mainly winter squash and summer squash plants into my paths, and then grow them up at the back of various beds on the allotment, and also where I've previously had fences. So I'm not really opening up any new ground, I'm just using existing ground. I kind of feel like there's a lot of wasted potential in fences and the edge of pathways, where, especially if you've got wood chips in your pathways, because there's an enormous amount of nutrition that's kind of seeping gradually year by year into that ground. It's not getting utilised. And it doesn't only take sort of 6 inches to grow a squash plant at the edge of a path, provided you're obviously growing it vertically. So I've now got 3 big permanent frames that I'm using for my squash plants. I let the squash plants kind of grow up canes, and then I hang the actual fruits, which are obviously very heavy, from tile battens which I have going horizontally. So that's the way I'm doing it. Because we've had so much rain, I've actually managed to get on top of logging all of my seed packets. That took me like half a day because I kind of just let them accumulate instead of logging them and entering them into my database. And as a result, I was losing track of what seed packets I'd got, which ones were the oldest and all this sort of thing. So I've got thousands and thousands, probably, well, not hundreds and hundreds of seed packets. And so, yeah, it's really nice to get on top of them. And I'm actually writing the chapter of my book at the moment on the seed packet database, so it was really good to get all that updated. And what else have I done? Yeah, so I've sowed a lot of seeds. So I'm always sowing seeds, sow seeds every month of the year. I know some people say, well, you shouldn't really start sowing seeds until February, but that is not my circumstance, because I've got grow lights and because I'm going to plant out under polythene in cold frames, low tunnels and the polytunnel I'm sitting in at the moment. I can quite easily start stuff in December and January, and it really gives me a nice head start. It means I get really a nice stable harvest all the way through the year. And you know, the varieties that I grow, of course, are also my favourite varieties for sort of spring rather than the winter varieties, as I mentioned way too many times already. And all of those seedlings have now germinated, so I was really pleased with that. The beetroot, probably the beetroot and the onions haven't germinated yet because it's only been 5 days, but anyway, I have high hopes for those. So yeah, I'll just show you the seeds that I sowed this week, and I'll pop them up at the side of the screen. So I'll just talk about water. So what I did when I first got my plot, it was on quite a slope. So I levelled it, and the result of that was that my plot was sort of raised up about 8 inches probably above everybody else's plots in the sort of local area. And then of course I built raised beds on top of that, so that raised everything up about 6 inches. And then I put wood chip in all the pathways, and that raised the pathways up about 4 inches. So my plot is at least a foot above everybody else's plot. And it really absorbs all the water because there's a huge amount of organic matter in the soil, and there's all that wood chip which swells really nicely and holds water. And as a result of that, my plot is pretty much easy to walk around all year round. You know, I never have laying water on it. The wood chip dries really quickly, so I can sort of kneel down on it, no problem at all. And I'm still in shorts, so I can kneel down without messing up the legs. And yeah, all the surrounding plots though are absolutely flooded, unfortunately, and that does make it difficult for allotment holders on this site who haven't kind of raised their plots up to grow all through winter. Let me just see what else of significance has happened. So Debbie has done a lot of work tidying up her plot. It's looking really smart. We've got a lot of empty beds on Debbie's plot. We're going to try and do a better job next winter of having all of those beds planted. But I mean, a lot of them had things like red cabbages in and things like that. It's pretty difficult to sort of harvest red cabbage in December and then have something to plant in January. You know, we have to sort of wait probably until the middle of February before we're planting out on her plot. And even then it's going to be used things like broad beans and the like. Oh yes, the big thing that I have done is I have finally got around to tidying up and releasing the version of the database that I use in these videos, which is sort of 3 years older than the version that's currently public. And so it's a big upgrade. And I'll put a link to it in this description. I'm not kind of promoting it right now because the videos to go with that database and the user guide to go with that database have not been fully written, and I've been sort of busy writing the user guide actually this week in the coffee shop. I've been really enjoying writing that, and the carrots that I started in the conservatory are now here on the allotment. I do quite like, if I'm doing early carrots, I quite like starting them in the warmth of the house and then bringing them here, because your germination is just so much more reliable in the heat of a house, and you only need to leave them there for roughly 10 days, and as soon as you see the first seedling germinate, then break surface rather, then you just bring them into your polytunnel or your greenhouse or something like that, and they'll romp away, give you a nice early harvest in May, late May probably. Yeah, so I think that is it. By the harvest, actually, we've broke record again. So this is the biggest harvest that we've ever had in the second week of January, even though we've got a lot less land than we had a few years ago. So it's really nice to keep competing with myself. I only ever compete with myself. I don't think it's a very good idea to try and compete with other people. But yeah, I'll show you around. So it's a quick look at the harvest. It's looking pretty good. I am this month actually going to do a proper dedicated harvest video, because I do one harvest video every month that I do as a freestanding one, so that I can put the record sort of in my book. So I'm just going to whiz you through this, because if you want all the details you can look at that video. So potatoes, still losing about 20% of those to the frost. Globe artichokes, lots of squash, really nice cooking carrots, leeks, Really the last of the apples. I've just put this one on just as a sort of token apple to remind me. Well, we've got quite a lot of apples left, but really they're only fit for cooking now. There's no real good eaters left. So we're buying eating apples. Yacon, loads of yacon, that's looking good. Looks like it's all survived being frozen. Started picking the baby beetroot out of the store, leaving the big ones obviously to keep. Onions looking pretty good, garlic's looking great. Salad carrots, and then we've got all the brassicas. So we've got curly kales, multicoloured curly kales, collards, salad spinach, salad onions, Brussels sprouts and colettes, tatsoi, red pak choi, spinach, loads and loads of spinach, and then these are all the salad bases. Still a little bit short of salads, but it's not a problem because we've got all these substitutes. So we've got Claytonia, which is a really nice substitute for lettuce, salad rocket, lamb's lettuce, and spinach. So when I make those up, they're going to be really brimming with various different salad leaves. So that is it. As you know, I like to fill this table every week of the year, and it's looking full to the brim. So hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment Channel, and I'll see you soon.